Hey guys, it's been a while since I made a video, but definitely got a video-worthy topic tonight. So, if any of you have been following my posts with any regularity for the last, I don't know, week or so, I've been on a really big '80s metal kick, and what got me started on that is that a local shop, the Poorhouse Record Shop, they got in an unbelievable '80s metal collection from a guy that was apparently buying this stuff as it came out, 40-ish years ago. And, in that were definitely some very, very desirable, very sought after records, things like an original U.S. pressing of Metallica's Ride the Lightning and, some early Anthrax records and some stuff from the more popular metal bands of the time. Some original Megadeth, but since I have clean versions of all of that stuff already, my main interest in the collection was some of the more indie stuff that he had, which there was a lot of great stuff in there from a lot of the big indie metal labels of the time. Think Combat, Megaforce, Metal Blade. And so I ended up pulling 13 records out of that lot. And man, it just lit that '80s metal fire under me that has been missing for a little while now. I haven't been listening to that stuff as much, maybe in the last year or two. But man, started going back down that rabbit hole, and especially now that I got some new stuff to listen to, and it's been a wild ride. So I wanted to share the pickups that I got in this haul. So excuse me. So we'll start with this one. This is The Sign of the Jackal by Damien Thorn rather, and this came out in 1986, and it's just kind of good satanic power metal. Lots of operatic vocals and subject matter dealing with things the church probably wouldn't approve of and that sort of thing. It's that people don't realize how big of a deal the whole satanic panic was throughout suburban America in the 1980s, and people afraid that their kids were gonna be sacrificing humans to Satan and all this other stuff. It was just insane. Well, it was insane when you look back on it, at least. But there's a lot of divisiveness in America right now, and humorously, but maybe not, I kind of feel like maybe the answer is to get a good satanic panic going again, because nothing unites a divided house quite like a common enemy. But I digress. Anyway, Damien Thorn only put out that one album, unfortunately. Well, they've put out some others since, but the band broke up in the '80s, and then they resurfaced sometime in the 2000s with a completely different lineup, and it's really a different band. They're playing the same style of music, but it's just one of those things, and so really, I think this is really the only Damien Thorn album you need. Okay. Next up, another great metal band of that period, Exciter. This is Violence and Force. This came out in 1984, I believe, and this is a nice original copy. They didn't. Oh yeah, 1984. Yeah. And it got that nice gray Megaforce label. And that was the interesting thing too, and I'll get into that more toward the end of the video, but all of these were original pressings, and they're mostly all complete. So yeah. All right, next up, this is Fate's Warning. This is kind of, I wouldn't exactly call it thrash. It's probably a little on the faster side of traditional heavy metal, but very, very good album called The Spectre Within. This came out on Mega Blade, 1985. I had actually never heard this album before, but based on that album cover, I couldn't leave it. The the cover on this is still like grainy, like it was brand new. A lot of jackets back then, as soon as you took the shrink wrap off, it had this like kind of grainy, newish feel, and this is still all over that jacket. It's really awesome. All right. This was a big one for me. So I love the band Hallows' Eve, and this is one that that I had not been able to find yet, and this is a gorgeous, gorgeous copy of Death and Insanity. This came out in 1986 on Metal Blade, and these guys had a really good kind of thrashy, hard, in-your-face sound. The vocalist in this band, what was his name? Yeah, Stacey Anderson. He had just such a unique voice. Yeah. If you've never checked out Hallows' Eve and you like 80s metal, I would highly suggest doing so. They are just an awesome band. All right, this was probably the crown jewel of the entire haul. This is a German pressing of the very first Helloween EP from 1983, I believe it was. And let me see if there's a copyright date on here. I'm going off memory, but I'm pretty sure it was 1983. Let's see. Picture label on one side. Or no, I'm sorry, this would have been 1986. Yeah, there's no copyright date. But looking at some of the albums on the... Oh, no, I'm sorry, 1985 it is. It's there in the very corner of the album cover. All right, we got to the bottom of that, 1985. And this is a first pressing. And so this is another interesting thing about this collection is there were some imports, and I'll get to that in a bit too. But yeah, so this is an original German pressing of Helloween's self-titled EP. Helloween, for those who don't know, they are widely seen as sort of godfathers of speed metal, and great stuff. All right, next up, I got 3 albums that I did not already have from the band Man-O-War. So this is their very, very first album. And other than the giant eagle statue on the front, I mean, Battle Hymns, this is... Let me back up a minute. So Man-O-War is widely seen as godfathers of power metal, and power metal is defined by sort of mixing traditional heavy metal with a little bit of speed metal, but lyrical subjects that are very fantastical and, dealing with, great battles and horsemen riding off and, sometimes science fiction, things like that. And I mean, you can kind of tell by Man-O-War's album covers that that's kind of what they're into. This first album, Battle Hymns, is interesting because it almost sounds like a 70s classic rock album, to be honest with you. They were still finding their sound, and then on the next album, Into Glory Ride, they were still kind of finding their sound. But they really came into their own on this album that I also found. This is an original UK pressing of Hail to England, and Man-O-War is an American band, but whatever. There is not a bad track on this. This is just by the book. I mean, they wrote the book, but this is by the book power metal. It's so good. So good. And then the album after that, this is an original UK pressing of Sign of the Hammer. And this came out in 1984, as did Hail to England. And this came out on an imprint of a major label. So this came out on 10 Records in the UK, which was an imprint of Virgin. And this is another one that is just, I mean, by the book. But again, they wrote the book, but by the book power metal. So good. Okay. Um, all right, next up, I got some classic thrash. So if you were to take the thrash big four, Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax, and if you were to expand that out over the big eight instead, I think you would add Exodus, Testament, Death Angel, and these guys, Overkill, to that list. So this is not their first recording, but this is their first full length album. And Feel the Fire is just it's just a musical onslaught. And that was a pun, but I'll get there. Overkill, the capability to obliterate and destroy with more force than required. Okay, well, glad they put the Oxford Dictionary definition of overkill on the back of their album cover, but sure. So this came out on Megaforce, 1985. And God, there's so much good stuff on this. Raise the Dead, there's No Tomorrow. Really love Feel the Fire. Blood and Iron is great. And this is just a super, super clean copy. Got the custom inner sleeve and everything with it. So I was really happy to find this. Overkill's one of those bands that even people who really like thrash, such as myself, opinions are pretty divided on Overkill. Some people love them. Some people are just like, no, not for me. But I've always really loved Overkill. This next one was a huge upgrade for me. So I had a pretty solid VG Play copy, but this thing is just gorgeous. So this is from 1987. This is Taking Over. And this has some more just classic Overkill stuff. Deny the Cross, Fear His Name is great, Fatal If Swallowed, Electro Violence is killer. Yeah, so much good stuff. Interestingly, Overkill is one 80s metal band that I have actually stuck with into the modern day, and their last, 3-4 records that they've put out, maybe over the last 8-9 years, they've all been absolutely outstanding. Overkill sounds as good today as they ever have. All right, some more just amazing thrash. This one is a sleeper. I almost jumped out of my skin when I found out that they had this. I have wanted this record for years. I've never seen it in the wild. It's one of those records that I probably wouldn't have gone on to Discogs or eBay to actively go and seek. But when I found one in the wild and was holding it in my hand, I was like, holy crap. So this is The Force by Onslaught. This came out on Combat Records in 1986, I believe. Let's see if there's a copyright date. Pretty sure it was 86. Yeah, 1986. Got that camouflage combat label. This is just some killer thrash. These guys should have been way bigger than they were. But that's the way it went sometimes. Thrash became a really crowded scene and a really crowded market by 1986. So unfortunately, Onslaught got left behind, but holy shit, was this a great album. Another one, if you like thrash and have never heard that, go fix that now. You can get it just about anywhere on any streaming service you want. Go check it out. It's amazing. All right. More satanic goodness. This is The Eyes of Horror by Possessed. I always buy Possessed records every time I see them. This one is practically near mint. It's in amazing condition. This came out in 1987 on Combat Records. And what else on this here? Yeah, Confessions, The Eyes of Horror is killer. Swing of the Axe is great. But there's that camouflage combat label again. I think you guys are seeing the pattern that I went for some of this, I guess maybe less desirable, but not for me. I love this stuff. But this was the stuff I didn't already have, you know. So this is just good stuff to fill out the library and, you know, make the metal library go a little deeper, you know. All right, last one I got here. This is the debut self-titled album from Steeler. This came out on, well, it looks like a Megaforce back cover, but was this Megaforce? That was Shrapnel. I think Shrapnel was like distributed by Megaforce, or was an imprint of Megaforce. That's definitely a Megaforce back cover. But anyway, Steeler is mainly remembered for having Yngwie Malmsteen in the band. If you're a fan of good rock guitar, you know who Yngwie Malmsteen is. And there's some good stuff on here. Cold Day in Hell is awesome. I love Hot on Your Heels. Down to the Wire is good. So this is another one. I've seen this before in the wild, but every copy that I've ever seen was beat to hell. And so this one is mega clean. And so finally decided to add this one to the library. So that's the 13 that I got. And I just wanted to make a few comments on this collection because it's really interesting. So this guy said that the guy that brought this collection in apparently was buying this stuff as it came out. And that's where the imports came from. So like that German pressing of Helloween's first EP and those two UK pressings of the two Manowar albums, those were actually never came out in the United States when they were first released. And so the fact that there were original copies of those in the collection, you know, whether it was German or UK, that tells me that he was probably buying these records at some record shop that either specialized in metal or had a buyer whose finger was really on the pulse of heavy metal and wanted to keep a good selection of metal records in the shop. And so it's always amazing when you find it, because those albums like Helloween's EP and those two Manowar records, you know, if they weren't released in the U.S., you know, you're talking about before Manowar was really popular. I mean, Manowar went on to sell some ridiculous number of records. I think they've sold well over like 20 million albums. But back in those days, they weren't as popular. And so those albums, especially early copies like that, the imports, are incredibly hard to find because A, most record shops wouldn't have even brought them in as imports to begin with, never mind somebody willing to shell out the extra money that, you know, that would have been required to buy an import back then. You know, it wasn't like it is today where, you know, U.S. record labels will use pressing plants overseas and have the record shipped in and everything. Like, that wasn't done back then. U.S. record labels used U.S. pressing plants because there was plenty of capacity and it was cheaper to do that. And so, and usually if distributors wanted to import copies of albums, they had to work out like licensing deals and stuff in order to do that. There's some really interesting articles written about Gem Records, Jem, who was a distributor that specialized in imports and, you know, went into all the legality of importing albums into the U.S. and whatnot. So, you know, just something to research sometime if you're ever interested in learning something new about the record business in the old days. But obviously this guy really loved his records and took really good care of them. But it was great to see those imports because, yeah, I mean, I can only imagine the shop that he must have been buying that from. I mean, they must have had just a ridiculous selection of great metal back then. So anyway, super, super happy to have this stuff in the collection now and be able to explore these albums. I've gotten through 9 of them so far, and so I still got 4 more to get through. Probably get through that tonight and maybe tomorrow. Might need to spill over to tomorrow. But anyway, that's what I had for you guys tonight. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.